How about a little late night pre-record here? It's 10:27 Eastern on Wednesday, February 12th, and I thought I'd hop on just because John Harbaugh's staff continues to expand, continues to materialize here as a couple more hires were announced by reporters, not yet by the team, but these are plugged in folks. And as obviously the new league year looms and free agency looms and whatnot, this is that lull now that the Super Bowl is in the rear view, where teams have to start to get together their 2025, 2026 overall staff. So that's what we have coming up. It's brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. And I think, honestly, if there's one thing that John Harbaugh probably doesn't get enough credit for, and I think you've heard me mention this before on the channel, it's his ability to hire. I think he's a fantastic hiring manager. And I'm going to have a couple examples recently as to why I feel like that's the case coming up in this show. As always, on your way in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. As Matt tweeted out here earlier this evening, the Ravens are expected to hire Chiefs safeties coach Donald DeLessio. He worked for Kansas City the last 4 years. As Matt noted here, he's coached some studs like Justin Reed and Brian Cook, who combined for 165 tackles and 4 interceptions this season. So again, the Ravens kind of completely retooling their secondary room from a staff standpoint. And obviously, Marcus Williams is not expected to be back. They cut Eddie Jackson, and I'm sure other decisions will be made, like allowing Brandon Stevens, for example, to test out the free agency market coming up next month. As for Donald, young guy, got his career started as a coach back in 2015 for Youngstown State. He was a defensive quality control assistant. He was then promoted to defensive line coach. From there, he took on the co-defensive coordinator and defensive line roles. And then in 2019, he was solely just the defensive coordinator. From there, LSU hired him to be a defensive analyst, and then he made the jump to the NFL, where he was a defensive assistant for Kansas City in 2021. And then again, over the last 3 seasons, or I guess over the last 4 seasons, or I should say, he spent the last 4 years in Kansas City, like Matt noted, the last 3 as the safeties coach. So he's won a couple Super Bowl championships as an assistant to Andy Reid in Kansas City. He's seen a lot. He's a former football player himself. And he was a player at Youngstown State from 2010 to 2014. He played defensive back, earned a degree in business. And again, I'm kind of learning a lot about Donald right now, as probably you are as well. But I think the reality is the Andy Reid coaching tree clearly over the years has been synonymous and been linked with John Harbaugh. And a lot of these hires have ended up working out for John. And so not only have they made other arrangements by bringing in the Chuck Paganos of the world, right? But you got rid of, you let Chris Hewitt and Doug Mallory walk, and clearly changes needed to be made. The 32nd pass defense for a good chunk of the 2024 season, as Jeff noted here, was unacceptable. And what they put forth defensively through the first 9 weeks was un-Raven-like and unacceptable. So you're bringing in not only new faces, new strategies, new visions, but this youth. I kind of love this youthful infusion that they're bringing in. And that's exactly what they did. You might remember just a couple weeks ago when they hired Tyler Santucci to be their new linebackers coach. Remember, Santucci was sort of a hot college name. He'd been garnering interest from other teams, and a successful defensive coordinator at Duke and Georgia Tech. Again, other NFL teams had been looking at him, and the Ravens took it upon themselves to go after him and hire him as their new inside linebackers coach. They let Mark DeLeon go. Obviously, Roquan had his struggles, even though he was named All-Pro. He had his struggles through the first half of the season. Trenton Simpson certainly had his fair share prior to being demoted. But I just like some of these changes solely based on where these guys are at in their career. And you have a nice dose, right, you have a nice blend of wisdom in the Chuck Paganos of the world, the Dean Pease, who's going to stick around in an advisory role, but then also some youth and some relatability to these players, like a Donald DeLessio, like a Tyler Santucci, like a Zach Orr, who's just, 32, 33 years young. So I give a lot of credit over the years to John Harbaugh for the way that he's cultivated these hires, cultivated culture. And I think you have to give him the benefit of doubt because of guys like Chuck Smith. We'll get to him in just a second. But of course, this statement from last month when the Ravens did go ahead and hire Chuck Pagano. He's going to join the defensive staff. He's going to rejoin the Ravens. Obviously has deep ties to Baltimore, deep ties to the Ravens. And Jeff Zrebiec adding in earlier this evening that Matt Pease is going to be the assistant inside linebackers coach. So he'll be working closely with Tyler Santucci. But Matt, notably, is the son of Dean Pease. So keeping it in the family here. Again, Dean will continue to serve an advisory role. Maybe we'll cut back a little bit based on how much he gave to them unexpectedly this past season when they hired him in season to help out Zach. If you want to look up Matt, you'll find that he was a defensive analyst for the Chicago Bears last year. And prior to that, he was with Dean before his father retired and then obviously came out of retirement to help out the Ravens. But prior to that, Dean had stops in Tennessee and then in Atlanta. So Matt's getting his career started. He's been working closely with his father over the years, and now it'll be a family affair in Baltimore. So slowly but surely, John's starting to kind of put his staff together here for the 2025-26 season. But that's where things stand right now. And look, I think, as Jeff noted in a previous slide, change was absolutely inevitable. And I think it's a welcome sight. Not only will you have significant change in the secondary, both player personnel and staff-wise, but I expect there to be some other change as well. And I think, again, when you look at past hires that John Harbaugh deserves credit for, perhaps that were, in this case, unconventional, maybe untraditional, non-traditional is the right word, like a Chuck Smith, this one comes to mind as a really, really successful hire. Guys, since Chuck Smith, who's considered to be Dr. Rush, a pass rush guru, somebody who is a key piece to the annual summit, the Pass Rush Summit, right? Somebody who the great Von Miller raves about, and so many standout pass rushers throughout the league rave about. It's no coincidence that the Ravens have finished top two, either first or top two, since this guy was hired. They led the league, of course, in the Triple Crown, right? Points allowed, takeaways, and sacks in 2023. And now 2024, they finished second in sacks overall. It's no coincidence. And I love that Chuck quote tweeted me earlier today when I shared this segment, this clip from Kyle Van Noy's interview last week in New Orleans when he joined the guys on the facility and was asked this question by now friend of the show, friend of the vault, Emmanuel Acho.
Hey, speaking of handling things, I'm not good at math, 2-5. I'm not good at math.
Sure?
I'm not.
Especially at Texas. They don't do math at Texas, but they do football at Texas.
But this, you got 12 and a half sacks this year.
Yeah.
But you only signed a $9 million deal.
No guaranteed money?
So that don't add up to me. So that sounds like a holdout to me. Like, are you stepping back on the field until you get your paper? What we doing here?
Like I said, I'm a pro. You know, EDC, we'll have a conversation, but I'm going to handle business how business needs to be handled. I'm going to show up. I don't need to be a distraction. I think they'll do right. They've done right by me since I've been there. I have nothing but respect for the organization. Mr. Bouchatti, the owner, first class from top down. And so I'm going to be first class to them. They deserve it.
Well,
and
we're
so that's how. Always.
Listen, you need some good guys. Yeah. You need some bad guys. I'm going to get you that money for you.
Well, how refreshing is that from KVN? I'm a pro. I'm going to handle business how business needs to be handled. I'm going to show up. I don't need to be a distraction. They've done right by me since I've been there. I've nothing but respect for the organization, first class from top down. And so I'm going to be first class with them. I mean, that right there is refreshing. And guess who agrees? Chuck Smith, who, like I mentioned, quote tweeted that snippet that I tweeted and said a pros pro at KVN underscore 03 with a salute emoji, hashtag loyalty, hashtag salute. So again, you love the brotherhood, you love the culture, and obviously you love what Kyle Van Noy has brought to this team over the last 2 years. And I think that's something that Eric DeCosta and this front office deserve a ton of credit on, right? He is now 33. He's coming off a career year, 12 and a half sacks. He one-upped himself from the year prior, which was also a career high at that time with 9 sacks. You got to go back to the 2019 season when he was in New England, where he finished with 6.5, which was his previous record and previous career high prior to the 2023 season. So some of this is usage, right? Some of this is what he's being asked to do. He's been a Sam linebacker, meaning he's dropped back in coverage for a lot of his career, but the Ravens are using him off the edge. They are using him to get after the quarterback, and my goodness, has he answered the bell. So this is a player that's under contract for another season. Perhaps Eric DeCosta rewards him with a new extension. Perhaps they work on something monetarily over the course of this offseason. But one thing for sure is that you're going to get a savvy from Kyle Van Noy. You are going to get somebody who is a bona fide leader, somebody who is setting himself up for a post-career media tour, you would think. He's already got a podcast, an in-season podcast, that he does with Gerald McCoy with Yahoo Sports. I got a lot of respect for KVN. Had a chance to speak with him during my time in New Orleans last week. And this is a player that, while he may not be somebody you're building a defense around at this point in his career, and you want to go get that game wrecker, whether it be through the draft or free agency, he is somebody that's a complementary piece, somebody that has made a high impact since the Ravens paid very little for him, took a chance on him, brought him off the couch, and my gosh, has that paid dividends. And I think a lot of that has to do with not only the relentlessness, the mindset that KVN brings to the table, but also the culture that Chuck Smith has quickly cultivated in that outside linebackers room as the outside linebackers coach. So I want to tip my cap to KVN. He's a class act. I love spending time with him, and I appreciated those comments from earlier last week in New Orleans. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group, as you heard at the top. And at Preston, you know, Bobby Baltimore subscribers get to eat well, man. It's a great opportunity for you. And here are the 2 exclusive offers that are available to you. One, $500 towards a new or pre-owned vehicle, or when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. You've got over 2,000 vehicles to shop from. Home delivery is available if you find something you like. You'd be joining the Preston team along with many throughout the Baltimore area and beyond. Brand ambassadors like Kyle Hamilton, Mark Andrews, and myself. Cars cost less with Preston. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com. You can simply type that in your search engine, or you can just click on the link in the show notes. You can also click on the QR code that I just popped up into the right-hand corner of the screen. And again, I'm showing you where it takes you, right? The screen that you're seeing on the screen share feature. If you click on that link, it'll bring you to my unique URL. You have a site operator that's available to you 24 hours a day. You also are reminded of those offers, those incentives that are available to you. You can contact Preston easily by filling out this form right here. And you can also narrow down your search by make, model, keyword, price, vehicle condition, year, make, location. I love their feature of scheduling mobile services. They'll show up right to your front door with a technician. And most of all, this time of year, especially when I get back from 80 degrees and sun in Louisiana, and I come back to a snowstorm in Baltimore, you already know I like that remote starter. I love the heated seats. I love the heated steering wheel and everything that my 2023 Ford Bronco Sport has to offer. So continued thanks to Preston for the opportunity to work together. It's been over a year and a half now, and I can't thank them enough. I also can't thank you guys enough for the continued support. If you guys are interested in helping out, Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy daily Ravens content, hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily content. So thanks to Preston. Thanks to you guys. Those are the latest news and notes on the Ravens staff as it continues to get into order as we get ready for the official offseason. There's plenty coming, but there is always a lull prior to free agency. But we're going to have you covered. Go check out me and Sarah's exclusive interview with MVP voter and the facility analyst on Fox Sports, Emmanuel Acho, if you haven't already done so. That interview is blowing up as we speak right now. So go check it out. I'll catch up with you guys soon.